Look, it's not a big deal, and I don't see why it should affect our relationship in any way. It's just that sometimes when I walk by you, I think super, super hard about kicking your balls so hard they go straight through the sofa. I'm Spike.
I'm Kel.
Amanda, who are you talking to?
I was walking by my husband today on my way into my office, and I looked at him, and the way he was sitting, he was very vulnerable, and I started laughing. And he said, "What's funny?" And I didn't answer him, and I went in my office, and then he said, "Are you thinking about doing something awful? Because we've been married for like 15 years, and he knows these things." No, actually, it's like 20 years. Jesus. But and I was annoyed that I was so easy to read.
Wow.
I
Hello,
mean,
everyone.
Spike, also, whenever you like send us a message and are like, "Can I be awful for a moment?" We're like, "Are you ever not awful?"
It's important to ask permission because sometimes some people aren't in the mood. Hello, pencil ears.
Well,
I'm
frequently,
excited too.
there have been occasions I've told you no, and your answer was, but like there were
Look,
times when you were always respectful, like Amanda, are you prepared to receive this information? And I tell you no, and then you just
yeah.
like throw open the door and like open the door into my face, and I go anyway.
Sometimes I find things that just need to be shared, but I'm actually quite
So,
proud of myself
so I do
because there are
appreciate you. Do ask a lot. I
yeah,
appreciate.
there are many, many, many times that I see things on the internet and I think to myself, no, you know what? I'm not going to show this to my friends because they get a lot of this from me. So I'm just going to settle down and I'm just going to enjoy it myself in isolation and then move on without letting anyone know I looked at it.
Thank you for not ruining dinner.
Yeah, it's there's like nature's real fucked up. So you don't have to go far to find certain things. And there's a lot that even if you're an avid viewer of like National Geographic and Animal Planet and stuff like that, there's stuff they just don't show you. It just wouldn't play well. But those photographs still get taken and they still get put on the internet. And you're like, wow, of course this happens. Lions don't have feelings.
They have feelings.
They don't feel mercy.
No, they do not, but they still have feelings.
They don't feel
Yeah, they
mercy.
just they just have different feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's these times where you're just like, "Oh, wow, you didn't even wait for it to be born."
Um,
I love how you say, I'm not going to talk about a thing. I am, however, going to skirt around it in a way that forces Amanda's brain to fill in the gaps. So
Yeah.
she does kind of have to experience it firsthand in her own way. She just has to simulate it herself.
Yeah, I didn't show you the photo at least.
It's not better.
Yeah, it's true, it's
It's
true. I
not
didn't
better than forcing my brain to simulate a thing I haven't seen before. But
also, like, the thing that if I truly want to experience something awful, the thing that I find is the most effective is apes and monkeys are close enough to humans that the things they do seem extra terrible, like things a hyena would get a
what
pass for if
so,
a
so, so you're
monkey.
you're sitting going like when you want to experience something like terrible. You often want to?
Kinda, yeah. Kinda,
I
yeah.
mean, Amanda, haven't you known Spike long enough to know
I
that yes,
know, it's more rhetorical. It's more me just
Yeah, this is a little before your time. I think pencil ears might actually, remember this. I used to have a forum on IronCircus.com, and we had a section called atrocity tourism,
Oh
and
no,
it's
I
just
remember.
oh, okay. It's linked to terrible
It
things.
was before it died, and you kind
Yeah.
of tried to revive it, sort of. I
Yes,
don't
'cause
remember where, but it was somewhere else, and you kind of tried to revive it. And I remember like it took a long time to get the message across that I didn't sign up for this.
yeah. Yeah, there's, wow. That stuff is actually bizarrely you'd think with the internet turning more corporate and more sort of bubbled off and more fragmented, you'd think that stuff would be harder to find. It's like, no, it's easier to find than ever. There's more of it. It's
I
like
mean,
people
it's just in its bubble.
it's in its
So,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean,
I
the
think
Mexican cartels stay busy, man.
I think here's the thing with the early internet, there was so little to look at that, like, if there was a link in front of you, it's like the worst thing you've ever seen. You're probably gonna click it.
Yeah.
it's like, what else are you gonna click? You've
Yeah.
clicked. There are only 20 links on the internet, and you've clicked them all.
The
But
thing that
now it's like there's so
yeah.
many. Yeah, that stuff's there, and it's probably pretty way easier to get to. But like, there's so many steps to get there. Like, well, I have to stop looking at like my Twitter feed, and I have to not look at all my favorite things.
Yeah, the thing that I think about sometimes is weird and horrifying shit on the internet used to be so singular and kind of unique that if people talk about Goatse, like everyone knows Goatse guy. And everyone knows the guy who put the jar in his ass and it shattered and suddenly that guy. Everyone knows that guy. And everyone, well, maybe not everyone, but a lot of
I
people
don't
know
know him
shit
personally, no.
and Shit Eater Freak. Like everyone remembers Shit Eater Freak. You only have to be exposed to Shit Eater Freak once, and then you remember him the rest of your life. And now it's like I could find 10 Shit Eater Freaks. It's just once upon a time, like you saw that for the first time. You saw
Well, I mean,
Goat Say
yeah,
for
and
the
that's the
first
thing.
time.
That's the thing about like, I mean, people talk about, oh, people are getting weird or whatever. No, I think we're just getting
Yeah.
exposed to more people. Like there was a time when you could assume there's only one man doing this thing, but it's like no, just the only man doing it and putting it on the internet.
Yeah, yeah, he was a
Yeah,
pioneer. Shit Eater Freak
it's
was a
like
pioneer.
it's like how Florida is not actually that much weirder than every other state. It's just
Mhm.
Florida has a law that they have to report these weird crimes.
Well, not
In a
have to
certain
report,
Um,
but that it's like the information is freely accessible.
yeah.
There's way fewer
Um,
hurdles if you want to get this information.
yeah.
yeah, so it's just like that's why we know about
Florida
people
man.
who
Yeah.
yeah, that's why we know about the various Florida men. Like
I
my favorite is the guy who streaked in an airport because quote he always wondered what it would feel like to get tased.
My personal favorite was a story I saw reported as like a bizarre story of the day, but I actually knew what was going on. And what it was the cops pulled over some people for driving erratically, and it was a man and a woman, and they thought they were tweaking. They thought they were kind of high, so they had them get out of the car. And when they got out of the car, they were like the cops. They were like, "Okay, so what do you have? Do you have anything in here I need to be worried about?" And the couple, because it was a guy and a girl, went, "Yeah, we've got a backpack with like 40 turtles in it, and also there's a crocodile down my pants." And this is reported as like, "What the fuck?" But I actually know what was going on there. People who are itinerant, don't necessarily have steady income, they can actually make a decent amount of money when it is hatching season and breeding season in the swamps and coasts of Florida for the pet market
Oh yeah.
to go and find baby animals, baby turtles especially, and sell them on to people who supply pet stores and reptile expos. So they had clearly found a nest of turtle hatchlings and dug them all up and put them in their backpack, and while they were there, they ran into a small enough crocodile to take with them. And they
It's
were on their
just
way to the
odd that it's
deal.
in their pants,
Yeah,
honestly.
I imagine it was in the pants because they were trying to hide it when the cop showed up. So,
Okay.
yeah, but that's why, 2 meth heads had a backpack full of turtles in their car. It's because they were on their way to a reptile dealer. They were probably gonna get like $5 each for them.
Yeah, I mean,
Understandable.
Yeah.
like I said, honestly, the pants part is the what threw me, but
Yeah. Well, who amongst us has not fantasized of an alligator down their pants or crocodile?
that's
Crocodile.
that's not up there on my fantasies.
Only a sexy fantasy lady.
Sex
Crocodile,
crocodile
alligator,
lady. Oh,
crocagator.
but crocagator. God, I wonder if they could. Probably not.
um
If
so
crocogators were a thing, I would have
other
heard of it.
than like weird crimes that happened, a couple of days ago, I stayed up way later than I meant to because I read all of Chainsaw Man for the first time. It's really
Ah,
good. Um,
good to
it's
know.
good shit. Good shit.
Yeah.
Oh, the manga? Oh yes.
Yeah,
Oh yes. Oh
yeah.
yes.
I love the aquarium date.
Oh yeah.
The
I mean, it's not over.
Yeah.
uh the Spike, you might have seen this panel going around, but it's a girl who's info dumping fish facts at Denji, and then her caption is like, "He must be falling for me right now. No one, not even aquarium employees, can explain fish as interestingly as me." Like,
I have not seen that.
It's
Chainsaw Man.
great. Also,
Chainsaw Man, the anime is on my to-do list, but it's
Yeah.
again,
I
we've
haven't
had
seen
this
the anime
discussion.
yet. I haven't seen
Yeah.
the anime yet. I'm manga only currently. I don't know. I always prefer manga to anime, but that's just
Yeah,
me.
I get that. I get that.
But one
Mm.
of my favorite things about that conversation in the aquarium is every time she info dumps on him, it's this giant word balloon that's like separating them at this huge distance.
oh,
and it's just so good.
the best thing, Amanda, is the balloon gets bigger as the date goes
Yes.
on.
Yes.
So it's literally this word balloon Spike is creating more and more distance between her and Denji.
I also
as their
fucking
date
love the
continues.
disgusted face she makes when it's pointed out she's not cute.
Mhm.
She's that she's not being attractive. She's like, I bet. Oh, I love it. I think that's one of my favorite things about Chainsaw Man is the expressions are so subtle that when they do pull like a disgusted face, it's so good.
Mhm.
Like, the faces are
But
so good. I think
I
Asa's she's been really like filling my power, the hole in my
I
heart power left.
I still miss Power.
I still miss Power.
Because I feel like there's different she's hitting different buttons.
Yeah.
But they're I miss Power. But this I love that stupid aquarium scene.
I just love how fucking again, sorry Spike. I just love how fucking stupid she and Denji are. They are just two idiots.
Well, I loved the anime Discord I'm in. They were passing around a photoshopped image of her where she's wearing a hat that says, "Be patient with me, I have autism."
Oh. Hey
Because
Spike.
that's the level of like hyperfixation, like info dumping she's doing.
Hmm.
Could you do me a favor? In that, can you in that React? Remember that React thing I sent to you?
Who, me?
Yeah, Spike.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Okay, what? What's going on?
How dare you? I pay attention when you're talking. Oh.
Okay,
Anyway,
what's the deal?
so I made a new talk image for you because Kel's image goes off a lot because it picks up their like tablet. So I wanted to make your talking image more obvious. So I made a new one to
Okay.
replace it just squirts blood when you're talking.
Oh, okay, where is this? Is this in
It's
resources?
in resources. Yeah, just use
Oh,
that.
shit. Yeah, that is a new one. Okay. Let me go ahead and save that one and put that up where it needs to go. Where's that account? Oh, God. See, the thing is, I got like 50 bazillion tabs open.
Yeah, I just wanted to make it a little more obvious when you talk.
Where is it? Hey, speaking of which, while I'm doing this, have you seen, this feels like an Amanda anime. Have you seen Kotaro Lives Alone?
No.
Yeah, it kind of feels like something you might be into. It is about like kind of a shitty ramshackle apartment complex in Japan, and it's one of those old-fashioned ones where like the units don't even
I've
have.
heard about this one. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just looked it up. I've heard about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like it would be your deal. Oh, there it is. There's the link. Okay. But for folks who aren't aware of it, the whole deal with it is it's this sort of ramshackle apartment building, and it's full of like people at various stages of their lives that maybe if you lived in a ramshackle apartment building, that would make sense to
Never.
you, that those would be your neighbors. Okay, I have saved it.
Yay! Now
Okay.
it squirts blood when you talk.
Oh, good. Okay. And and he's got like, it's about the little boy. He has like a Yakuza neighbor, and he has kind of a layabout shithead neighbor, and kind of a party girl office lady neighbor. But it's like a 7-year-old who lives all by himself. And people are like, why is this small child living all by himself in this apartment building? And he is weirdly competent for a small child and very, very formal when he talks, like in a way that doesn't make sense to us because we speak English. We're monolingual, lingual fucking idiots. But he apparently speaks in a
I
very
speak some Spanish. Thank you very much.
in a very antiquated kind of way. He speaks Japanese, like something you'd expect from the samurai class 100 years ago. Is apparently what his speech sounds like, and he actually carries around a little sword and everything too. And he is extremely polite and formal with everyone around him, despite being a tiny child, like an elementary school child. And it seems very sweet, and I think you might like it.
Okay. Yeah, I think who was it? Mother's Basement, I think, talked about the anime.
Okay.
So I have just
Um,
looked it up, and it has a manga, so that's probably what I will go for.
Okay.
um, Manga I really like, that continues to be delightfully charming is My Love Mix-Up. That
Oh yeah, yeah,
continues
yeah.
to be people saying too much information at each other, and then people don't know what to do. Um,
Jay
it
Brooks,
is
that is
the
on my list of things to experience.
it is the ma'am, this is a Wendy's of character conflict. Just spouting all their problems at each other, and everyone being like, "This is not the time for that."
Yes.
Hmm. Yeah.
I am. I will say I am still enjoying Spy Family. Still very good manga.
Hmm.
I am so very done with My Hero Academia. I
I
Oh.
haven't read it in ages.
I can't, I'm just so sick of it. I'm so sick of it.
I'm gonna
It's
be real. I was never into it, so
That's fair. Well, I don't watch the anime. I read the manga. The manga kind of fell off for me because the art started getting really clean and really assembly line, and it lost its goofiness, and I really loved its goofiness. And
mhm.
now the story is just, I'm so fatigued.
What's
I,
so what's really like in making it unbearable for you?
everything is happening all the time, constantly, and you're constantly cutting back and forth between multiple characters. This is like the big like finale fight, and it's like end of the world proportions, and there's all these, you're going back and forth, and they're tying up all these character arcs at once. It's so much, and I just don't have like God, could
The
you not
It's
have
energy.
done,
exhausting to read.
yeah, fatigue. I'm fatigued. It's like, could we not have gotten one arc at a time? Like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
and I don't know if they were speeding to this conclusion. You'd think they'd want to draw it out, so they'd want to. I don't know why it's coming to a head like all at once. It's like, it's at the point where like this is the same fight has been going on for like a year. I feel like of reading it,
Mhm.
but like but it's only been like 2 hours of fighting. It's so rough. It's like, I remember being like, "Oh, My Hero Academia." It's not like, it doesn't do fall into that trope, I guess, of the fight that lasts 1,000 years. But no, we're here.
But now it's that,
We've
yeah.
planted our flag. The character you like that was left in a precarious situation, you'll get to see them in 2 months. I'm
Um,
tired.
yeah.
Mhm.
Um, I appreciate that all of the Chainsaw Man fights are fairly short. That's one of the other things I like about it.
God, I
Um,
genuinely wish that it was easier to get Crunchyroll on my actual TV as opposed to my computer than it is. But right now, it's
don't
just
you have like a Roku or something?
we have Roku literally built into the TV, but
Same.
there is no Crunchyroll app on it, just Funimation.
What?
And
I'm pretty
Oh,
sure I have the Crunchyroll.
maybe the people who make my TV had a different deal. Trust me, I've looked for it. It's not
Huh.
there. Basically, what we have to do is we have to, broadcast it from our phone.
Oh, okay.
So
mhm.
that's fine. That works. But it's just
It's
enough
just
of
a
an extra.
pain.
It's just enough of an extra step that I don't bother. So
I've
Um,
just been mostly watching Retro Crush.
yeah, we do have that. We do have that on the TV. We do
That's
watch
great to
retro.
have on the background when it's like the live TV version, because like I mentioned this I think last episode, but it's been
Mhm.
really nice to just have it play in the background. And sometimes as a show comes on, they're like, "Oh, I remember hearing about that when I was a little anime baby."
Yeah,
Oh, it's
Chargeman Ken is on Retro Crush, isn't it?
I have no idea because I'm just watching it live.
Oh,
So,
okay.
like, if I see a show I like, I will then go to the app and watch that. That's how I binged like 12 Kingdoms. I really liked what I saw on live. So then
Mhm.
I went to seek out the rest because they play like blocks of a show. So that's how I
Um,
caught 12 Kingdoms. And it was like, oh, I saw that when I was like a little baby teenager. And like I couldn't afford to buy things and I always wondered. And now I know and now I love it. But it's also been nice to see
Aw.
some things and go, oh, I would have spent money on this, but and I'm glad I didn't. It's awful. Like Ultramaniac.
uh,
Oh, I wanted to read and watch that so bad, but I'm like, gosh, I've spent all my anime monies. I'm so glad I didn't waste it on that. It's awful.
Yeah.
um, I watched a horror movie recently that I had to turn off because it was too uncomfortable.
What was that?
Um, it's called All My Friends Hate Me.
Oh.
And it is someone made a movie that's like, you know what really is the scariest thing in the world is social anxiety. So the whole movie, it was made really cheap because it's like in two locations. Um, and it's a guy is invited by his college friends out for his like 31st birthday. um and then like as the night goes on, um he just keeps having really weird interactions with his friends that like set off his social anxiety, that like maybe they hate him. And then there's this guy that he doesn't know that's also at his birthday party, and every time he speaks the guy like writes something down in a notebook.
Oh,
And
wow.
then yeah, like so I had to like stop halfway through, take a break, and then go back to it. Like the whole movie is just like the worst birthday party ever. And but like good job displaying social anxiety because it was rough to get through.
I'll
Yeah.
bet. Yeah, I had a similar experience where I had to take breaks while watching something, but it wasn't with a horror movie, it was with, Uncut Gems, and
Oh,
if
the
Um
you
Adam Sandler one?
yes, the Adam Sandler one, for folks who aren't aware,
I'm
it is
not. I just know he had a funny beard.
yeah, Uncut Gems is a movie about a jeweler in New York who his primary customers seem to be like rappers and NBA guys who buy the great big chains with the big
mhm.
diamond-studded medallions on them. And
Like the
he
Swarovski encrusted SpongeBob.
yeah, those are his customers, and there's actually a bit in the film where he is showing off a Furby medallion, and the eyes actually move. So
That's
that's who
hot.
he's selling to. And he would probably be pretty okay in life if he didn't have what is clearly a huge gambling problem. And it gets to the point where he starts, for collateral, sending out things that do not belong to him, but belong to his customers. Like people give
Mm.
him stuff to alter and things like that.
Like bedazzle.
And he starts offering those as collateral on his sports betting. And there's a lot of like timing specific stuff that's going on. Like he needs to give X back to Y before this time because that's when Z happens, stuff like that. And you can tell he has this whole attitude that he can fix it, he can fix it, he can fix it. He has always fixed it every single time before. This isn't a big deal. He can fix it, he can fix it. Throughout the whole film, when it's becoming increasingly clear, things are becoming unfixable. And so I have never experienced stress while watching a movie, not anxiety, not being on pins and needles. I mean genuine, I can't look at this right now. I'll be back in half an hour stress. I have never experienced a movie like that in my life before.
Yeah.
I've experienced that, but I'm having a hard time. Like I know I've experienced it, but I'm having a hard time remembering exactly the situation.
It's a lot. It's a fucking lot. And you're almost kind of like shocked that Adam Sandler it makes his shit films even worse because if he's capable of this level of acting, when someone is clearly
Well,
pushing him and has given him a great role. He is sharting out the stuff he sharts out. If that was the best he could do, that would be understandable. But it's clear that
well,
he cares as little about those roles as I do.
like you've seen the red letter media that explains that all his movies are just a scam to get him and his friends paid,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
Well,
remember not Jingle, Eight Crazy Nights. The
Oh
thing that
yeah.
gets me is everyone loves to like drop their pants and turn around and just pinch out a fat one on Food Fight. And rightly so. Food Fight was a ridiculous movie, but Eight Crazy Nights did basically the same thing. If you've never
I-
seen it,
the
it's
thing is,
I mean, they're both bad. They do. There is a Venn diagram. What specifically are you referring to? The same
Eight
thing they
Crazy
do.
Nights had so much product
Okay,
placement.
okay.
yeah.
Ridiculous product placement
Yes, it
everywhere.
did.
The thing that makes me mad is Eight Crazy Nights has some good animation in it, and it's wasted on that
Yeah.
awful movie.
Yeah, and actually, I remember thinking to myself, "Oh, I'm gonna like this movie. This is gonna be fun." Because there's a bit in it where, the Adam Sandler self-insert is coming out of a bar, and he's telling everyone he's fine to drive, he's good to drive, and he is getting his key out and is trying to open the door to his car, and the keyhole in his car door is covered in these massive scratches and gouges. To make it clear, this is a regular occurrence for him. He is too
Yeah.
fucked up to drive a lot and drives anyway. And I thought that was really funny. And then all the product
Yeah.
placement, and I was like, never mind, bye.
Yeah, it's like never mind. This is a horrible movie.
But hey, movies are very expensive, you guys.
I will
So
say that was a
I
movie
can't.
I saw when I didn't have a lot of experiences at malls. So
Mhm.
like I didn't understand what was happening. Like I just didn't understand where he was and what remember he like has the I think the
he
hallucination
has his
and
epiphany at the
all
mall,
the
so the product placement.
mascots like come alive
Yeah.
to talk to him. I was like losing my fucking mind as a kid. Like
Like,
Yeah.
why
what's
is
going on?
what is who is that? Who is that? Who is that? What is that? Where is this? Is this hell? I just couldn't figure it out. And then I became an adult. I'm like, oh, it was a food court.
Yeah,
Oh.
so all my friends hate me. I like looked up the guy who made it to see like what else he did, and like apparently it was made for $80,000 to tell you how cheap this movie was.
Yeah. Horror movies can be
Uh
incredibly cheap. Yeah.
I wish someone would like
yeah.
hire me to make movie monsters for cheap horror movies.
And it's also like this is a horror movie where it's just six friends at a party.
Yeah.
Like so there isn't even like costume makeup stuff they have to do. Like they just need to write and direct really awkward conversations well.
Yeah.
Because the thing is like they're in an expensive house that's kind of away from everything. So like clearly the budget is like renting this nice like manor for them to hang out at so they can film.
Mhm.
And then paying the like or 7 or 8 actors in the movie. Like,
Yeah.
y
I have been sort of investigating I've been investigating movie YouTube, and there is this whole subgenre of movie YouTube that's about horror, and it's kind of fascinating because, like, when I was a kid, 80s
mhm,
and, early part of the 90s, when I was a kid, horror never struck me as particularly inexpensive because I grew up in the in the period where it was Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street and occasionally stuff like Pumpkinhead, stuff that did not look cheap at all. But in the past few years, in the past decade plus or so, horror has kind of become the shoestring movie genre of choice, and it's
mhm,
because if you have a good enough writer and a good enough concept, you can keep it under 6 figures, which is, like, fucking unheard of, and I bet a
mhm,
lot of people in here would be familiar with Blumhouse, the guy his entire MO with making movies is he just finances like 15 super cheap by Hollywood standard movies, and all he
mhm,
needs is one of them to blow up and it pays for everything. And this is an approach that he has just sort of been doing year after year after year, and it's kind of resulted in this horror renaissance almost, which is fascinating to watch videos about and read about because horror can be so cheap. It can be silly and experimental and strange in ways much more expensive movies can't be, which is how you end up with shit like,
Are they
"Oh,
the
we're
ones?
all trapped on a Zoom call together with a dead girl who's messaging us, woo!" Stuff like that. It's kinda
Garbage,
cool.
basically.
Like,
Yeah, it's
uh,
garbage, but honestly, it's so cheap to make, it's kinda like he's like, "Sure, whatever, maybe this'll blow up, who knows?"
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah, so, I would recommend All My Friends Hate Me for someone who's interested in a movie that is about social anxiety and that fear rather than the fear of
I
monsters and whatnot.
I'm
Mhm.
good.
Yeah.
I'm
I
good.
figure I was like, this is not a movie that Amanda wants to watch, but like I told Joe about it, and Joe was like, "Well, I'm gonna look that up like immediately."
Yeah, it does sound
Um,
interesting, it does sound interesting.
cause it's an English movie, so like when he gets to the party, his friends accuse him of changing his accent and like kind of make fun of the way he talks, and he's like, I didn't change my accent. Like, what are you talking about? Like, and just random stuff like that that's like leaves him with like he doesn't know what the fuck's going on. And the guy taking notes every time he says something is definitely like extra anxiety inducing. Um
Abigail asks, "Wasn't Saw a Blumhouse production?" I think it was. Let me see. I know the thing that really, really exploded that they didn't expect was, Paranormal Activity, and they also did The Purge. The Purge was them. But let me see. Blah,
I
blah, blah, blah,
think
blah, blah.
are they the ones doing this new movie that I saw advertised on the YouTube ads? It's like a girl gets like an android
Oh, the
companion.
little girl android companion, Megan. Yes, that is them.
Yeah, that one's. I keep staring at that one, going, "God, that's a missed opportunity."
They're also doing a Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I'm looking at their stuff. I don't see Saw here, but I do see Get
I
Out.
do think it's
So
interesting that Five Nights at Freddy's has been taking its sweet time, and
mhm.
long enough that it that like at least three different challengers to the throne have already put their movies out.
Yeah, yeah.
They've all been bad. They've all been bad.
Yeah, they were trying to beat them to the punch, so,
Which the thing is, you didn't even have to do it fast because like it's like y'all
yeah.
could have taken your time a little more. It's fine.
Yeah,
uh
but
I
I'm
also watched Everything Everywhere All at Once.
yeah, just for, reference, everybody, The Purge cost $3 million to make, which in Hollywood terms is fucking nothing, and it made $90 million. So that's what I mean, where only one of them needs to hit to make it worth everything.
And horror movies just don't do much for me.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's cool.
I usually get bored by horror movies.
Yeah.
And I was intrigued by the social anxiety one because it is seemed so different
I,
from what
when
usually
did
is the topic of horror
I
movies.
think I brought it up when we were doing our friend Discord call, but like
Mhm.
horror only seems to work with me when it's a secondary genre in something like it's a romance with horror elements. It's a comedy
Yeah.
with horror. Like the horror is part of it. It's the only time
Yeah.
horror ever really fucking gets me. It's a action movie or comic with horror elements. When it's entirely horror, when horror is all it is, I just never seem to connect with.
I get bored of
Yeah.
horror movies really
I
easily.
get bored
I
or
I tend to be kind of annoyed by, and this is going to sound very elitist, and I'm sorry, but I tend to get really bored by modern horror specifically because I think it cheats a lot, where a lot of really like, to me, like, the hallmark of really bad, forgettable horror is the jump scare, because
Mhm.
I kinda almost wanna, like, sit people down and be like, "Okay, that doesn't count, and I'm going to explain to you how that doesn't count. If you run up to me and pull your hand out like you're about to slap me and I flinch, that is an autonomic response. I can't stop myself from doing that. You didn't actually achieve anything other
Yeah.
than confirming I have a working nervous system. If you get up in the camera with your rubber Halloween mask and go, "Boo!" and I jump, you didn't actually scare me. You triggered a fucking autonomic response from my brainstem. That doesn't fucking count.
Um, so like, for me, I remember Joe talking to me about this, and I think Joe put their finger on why I frequently get bored of horror movies. And it's apparently if the same tone goes on for a long time, I get bored. And this
Mm.
is across the board, like any genre. Like I know a lot of people love it, but I did not like Fury Road because I got bored.
I didn't enjoy Fury Road because I felt tired. It like it felt like fatigue. Like
Yeah,
it was,
action
and
fatigue.
I think it was probably the same reason you got bored.
Yeah, and it's just because it's just nonstop action, and because oh, another explosion
Uh-huh.
and more guns.
Bad pacing,
It was one of
basically.
those movies where I could
No,
stand back and go,
because this isn't the thing. It's not necessarily bad pacing. It's just like it is on it is amping up, and this is why a lot of people like it, is because it is consistently amping up. It's just because it is so consistent in its amping up and there isn't really a change of tone. I got bored because it's just fighting and more chasing and the trucks um
Yeah, yeah.
it's one of those
and
things where I can
like
appreciate the parts of it. Like I like that part, I like that part, I like that part, and I like that part. But when they're all put together and I have to sit down for an hour, I'm like, I I want to go home.
and Joe like described that I need like a variety of tones in a thing because all my favorite stuff is a mix of tones put together. Like there are parts of Mad Men that are really funny.
Yeah, definitely.
And then there's like so like if you mix humor with existential despair, that's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
Like
Well, it's
Yeah,
like
like,
when I
well,
was talking recently. Oh, sorry, Spike, you talk.
I was just going to say that, the comic that I'm working on now, specifically on co-host, is one of
Mhm.
those all it's I guess it's like mundane, what do they call it? Urban fantasy seems
yeah,
not
urban
quite right.
fantasy.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's like urban fantasy where one of the reasons I like about it is it's like that specific genre, and why I wanna work in that genre is there is such a variety of tone that is possible. Like,
Or are you
anger is
talking
a re
Blue Kata or are you talking about Ordinary?
I'm talking
That's
about
co-host.
Ordinary.
Ordinary's co-host.
Yeah, Ordinary's co-host. And one of the things that I'm like interested, it's like you can have awe. You can, oh, here's a fucking supernatural creature and it's working with me at the fucking, movie theater. Like
Mhm.
there's a level of awe that will obviously be there if you're going to write it in any realistic way, but awe is like anger and overwhelming joy. They are emotions that definitely happen, but you cannot sustain awe long term. If there
Mhm.
is a puddle of Vantablack fluid named Bill who works with you at the movie theater, the first day is going to be weird. But by week 3, you're just not going to care. So that the variety of sort of reactions and interactions that are possible in urban fantasy is something that's really appealing to me.
So
Now it's not just all
cuz
one tone.
the black goo, he's an alien, right?
He is not an alien.
Okay. Uh well,
So
so this goes back to our is it sci-fi or fantasy debate like
It's going to
uh
be
wait,
honestly for
why would it go
tone.
back?
well cuz what's the black goo guy?
What's it
That's going to
matter?
determine if
It's
it's
urban
urban
fantasy.
fantasy.
Here's the thing,
Uh
it's going to be very Simon Stallhog kind of. Like that's what I'm looking at for tone. For folks who aren't aware, Simon Stellog is the artist who created Tales from the Loop, and he has a very singular art style and artistic preoccupation, aesthetic preoccupation, I think is the best way to put it. And one of the things that's really fun about his work is the level of mystery. And
Mhm.
it's this sort of 80s period landscape, and there's something horrible in the background. And it's never explained to you what that is. And it looks like it's been there a long time, and everyone's treating it like it's totally normal. And I really love that vibe. And in Ordinary, I never plan on fully explaining what Aphin is because Aphin doesn't know what Aphin is, and no one around Aphin
Okay.
knows what Aphin is either. And I haven't actually mentioned it in the context of the comic. Everyone calls Aphin he. It's not because Aphin has a penis and balls. It's just because at some point Ruben decided Aphin was a boy. And so, okay, he him, and like that, it's so arbitrary, and it's
It's because male is the default frequently, so that is why probably why the human that he hangs out with decided
I would
that
assume just
Aphin
because
is a
he
boy.
wouldn't want to hang out with a girl.
yeah, Ruben's got a lot going on, and I can't wait to get into it, but I don't want to talk too much about it. I don't want to ruin it too much, but I'm really fucking glad I now have like the goofy comic I don't have to give a shit about, you know? It's fun to have the goofy. It's This is gonna sound cheesy as shit, but doing that Comic Con co-host has kind of reminded me why I like comics so much.
Mhm.
Because once you've been, I mean, we've all been at this for fucking like 20 years or whatever, and it can be a slog, and it can be incredibly depressing, and it can be crushing, and sometimes it feels like you're shouting into a void and no one gives a fuck about anything you do.
Oh, I never feel.
Amanda. But it's really nice to like put a stupid comic on co-host and just see people go, "Oh, I really like this," and they fave it, you know. And it doesn't take a lot to make me happy. It really fucking doesn't. And so I go to my comic, and there are like 5 comments on it. I'm like, "Oh, 5 people liked it enough to say something," and that
Hooray.
yeah. And that is, it makes me feel like I'm a little big kid putting shit on Webcomics Nation again, is what it makes me feel like. Like, "Oh, I hope someone comments.
Uh
I hope someone notices the thing I put in the background."
this is a tangent. That just made me think of the other day, Joe and I were talking about how um I don't really like Philip K. Dick's longer stories.
Yeah.
You talking about like not explaining stuff with your little guy in Ordinary is what made me think of Joe and I's conversation.
Mhm.
And it's I liked Philip K. Dick's short stories because he doesn't explain shit. He's just like, here's an idea, and he like vomits it at you, and then he leaves.
Yeah.
Um, and and then and he does, and because he is like, here's an idea, and then he leaves, he doesn't have time to go off on too many tangents that don't really matter, or like over explain stuff. And also I think that he's very bad at endings.
Hmm.
And Joe and I got on the topic because a YouTuber we like, Lady Night the Brave, made a video recently about Blade Runner. Um, and she criticized Philip K. Dick's Man in the High Castle as Gentiles play acting as, what if the Nazis oppressed us? Um,
Mm.
and I was like, yeah, that's a fair criticism of that book, because that book like has a real wet fart of an ending, like, and it's very clear that he doesn't really have anything to say other than what if, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to be into people who just give you an idea and then walk away to be into Philip K. Dick, I think.
And I think that that's fine when it's a short
Don't know who
story.
this person is.
He wrote the book that Blade Runner's based off of,
I've
He
never
and
seen
a
wrote
Blade
lot
a
of,
Runner.
lot of books. A lot of movies are based off of.
I've never seen
but
Blade
but I mean,
Runner.
yeah, he a lot of classic sci-fi movies are based off his short stories. So that's basically what all you need to know.
Yes, he is an extremely influential sci-fi author who is kind of almost been relegated to the level of myth for a lot of people. Like there's a lot of lore. Like one of the things I hear a lot that I have an extremely hard time believing is that he went in for dental surgery and whatever they gave him kept him high for years. And then he wrote like 3 different novels while in an altered state. And I personally don't
Look,
believe
I
that, but
don't
I've
believe that having been high before.
yeah, yeah. But
I mean,
the thing you've
I
probably
believe that he wrote things that he doesn't remember writing
oh
because
for
he did
sure.
do a lot of drugs.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But
Yeah,
I think like I said, I think there's a lot of exaggeration in lore, the same way there is with Hemingway, the same way there is with Burroughs. With him, the thing you might have heard of from him that would be most like, oh yeah, for you, Amanda, maybe like The Man in High Castle.
What?
Like that was a whole series.
uh,
Don't know what that is.
If the Nazis
yeah,
won, basically, is what The Man in High
Ah,
Castle was. And the
yeah.
thing
never
that
heard
Kel
of
was
it.
talking the
Till
thing that
just
Kel was
now.
talking about, Blade Runner, was based off of a novel called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?
Ah.
Yeah. So that's
Uh,
him too. There was actually a
yeah.
webcomic guy I still love the work of, who had electricsheep.com, esheep.com as one of his domains for a while. I don't think he still has it though.
And yeah, it's just like both Android's Dream of Electric Sheep and Man in the High Castle. He just kind of rambles for a really long time and then it doesn't really go anywhere. And part of why his short stories work is because he is forced to not ramble because it is a short story.
He
And
has to
he
get to the
takes
point.
and he takes his rambling into a different short story. Like, so what would be a random tangent that doesn't go anywhere in a novel is a different short story, rather than part of this short story.
Yeah.
Like Disney actually got the license to one of his short stories, King of the Elves.
That was a good one.
Yes, it's a good one, and it's very funny that Disney got the
Yeah.
license to it because it
It's
ends with horrible murders.
Yeah, the thing about Disney getting the license of King of the Elves, it's up there with, like, if you thought Hunchback was like, why would you? King of the Elves is like that plus plus.
Um,
But yeah.
but I've seen concept art for it. Like, I know
Oh
they
yeah.
canceled the movie and it's not happening, but like the concept art was really nice.
Yeah, I'm really not surprised. I have no fucking idea how they would manage to pull that one off.
I know exactly what they would do. They would get rid of the ambiguity. So like him murdering his neighbor is not, was his neighbor really a troll king, and did he hallucinate all this? The answer would be yes, the neighbor was bad and they did a heroic battle and he saved the day.
Yeah.
um
For folks who aren't aware, The King of the Elves is a story about a
Folks.
man who lives in the deep south, who he is a human, a man who lives in the deep south. And one day while he's minding his own business, he encounters a whole group of elves, like literal fucking
well,
elves.
what
And
it is he owns a gas station that's going out of business because the highway destroyed
yeah,
the route people usually take. um
and
so
the elves that he meets, they have their king with them who has been terribly wounded, and they're basically seeking
Okay,
sanctuary.
now you said they are elves, elves. Like I would know what that means, but there's like 3 different kinds of elves that I'm
Okay, they're
thinking
not
of.
Tolkien. They're not Tolkien elves. They're not like tall blonde
they're
elves.
closer to Keebler elves than
Okay.
Tolkien elves.
Yeah, like pixies.
um
And they
yeah.
beg him, like, "Can you give us sanctuary?" And he's like, "Sure." And he does. He gives them sanctuary, but their king dies anyway of his wounds. And the elves go, "Well, our king is dead now. So, and you gave us sanctuary and you're protecting us and you helped our king in his last moments. You tried to save him. So you are now our king. By the way, your neighbor, your shitty neighbor that you don't like anyway."
No. First, they
Mhm.
disappear, and
Okay.
he's like, "Did I dream that or not?"
Yeah.
And he goes and talks to his neighbor, who's his best friend, and tells his neighbor the story. And the best friend's like, that sounds like a whole load of nonsense. It was probably a dream. And main character goes, you're probably right. Then neighbor tells everyone in the small town that they live in that he's crazy and is
Yeah,
talking to
yeah,
little pixies.
yeah.
So he becomes increasingly isolated from his neighborhood.
You think he's crazy.
And because they think he's crazy.
Yeah,
And then when one night when he doesn't know what to do and he is despairing because like his business is going under and everyone in town thinks he's crazy, then the pixie elves come back and they're like, hey, your neighbor is the king of the trolls and you need to kill him. Um,
yeah,
and that's why he spread those rumors about you, because he wanted to hurt you because he knows that you're our new king.
yeah.
And then he kills his neighbor
And
because
the
the
thing
elves
about
told him that
yeah,
he's the troll king, and it is left. No one talks to the elves or acknowledges their
yeah.
existence except for him. So the story ends with, is he crazy and just killed his neighbor in a psychotic break, or were the elves real?
Exactly. It's very ambiguous about whether he is actually seeing elves or if he's just straight up fucking hallucinating. And it's one of those stories where it's like, how how do you justify that? How?
You Disney, and the answer is you Disneyfy it by making it they are definitely elves, and that guy is definitely the troll king.
Or you
Yeah,
Disneyfy it by the creators had a vision that they were going to stick to, and then it gets ruined along the way.
yeah.
That's
It's
the
just
other way to do it. Like, they could have had intentions of playing it straight from the start that gets screwed up as it progresses.
I kind of
Yeah.
I can't sit here and say I would have gone and seen it, but I'm kind of sad it didn't happen, partially because, and like Kel said, if you go and look, you can find concept art for King of the Elves pretty easily. It would have been fun to see that kind of elf, kind of like the closer to the Brian Froud vision of elfery
Mhm.
in the collective consciousness more, because now elves are very, and I am not saying this in a mean way, elves are very D&D, they're very Lord of the
Well,
Rings, they're
Spike,
very,
there is an elf you can thank for changing that.
Legolas.
No, in the other direction.
Oh.
Elf on the Shelf.
Oh, right, that thing. Okay.
Yeah.
But the elves that are, I'm actually
The
looking at some of the
elves are
concept art right
being,
now.
the collective consciousness of what elves are is being.
I like the elf designs for the canceled King of the Elves
Yeah.
movie, where they are, they're green and they're covered in grass and they're very Brian Froud. That's like the best way to put it. They look like little nature creatures. They look like they're made up of leaves and pine cones and grass and bark and berries, and it's neat. They're neat to look at. It would have been nice to see them move on a screen.
Yeah.
But Disney has
Uh,
a reputation for basically greenlighting shitloads of stuff, letting it develop for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, then going, "Never mind."
On top of having multiple teams working at once.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not to bring it up again, but anybody here could easily look up the Sweatbox and see what we mean about what it's like to make things at Disney. It can be kind of a trial.
Why I would never.
uh,
Mhm.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
What?
The Sweatbox.
Oh, okay.
Sweatbox.
Yeah. It is about,
Yeah, we talked
Emperor's
about it
New Groove.
before.
Yeah.
Making an Emperor's New Groove. Yeah.
It was the Empire of the
I
Sun at the
I was
time,
oh
but
yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I thought
But
that's what they
anyway,
called the making of the documentary was Empire of the Sun.
I think
No, it's called the Sweatbox. And it
Huh.
was also never officially released.
yeah, because it's not very flattering. It makes
Okay, then maybe there's a second
working
one
you look
that's
like hell.
not that one.
Brit A
Amanda,
is
I put some of the little elves in the chat.
yeah. Brit A is saying the blood special effects really helping with being able to parse who's talking. Thank you, Amanda.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
My chicken beheading is working as intended. That's good to know.
And then the
But
character design they have for the main dude, he looks a lot like Morgan Freeman.
yeah, well, I'm sure that is not an accident.
Kingdom
Yeah.
of the
But yeah, everybody, movies in general, they're very expensive to make. They cost lots. They cost millions of dollars. So No, I personally would have a hard time making films without loans, for a film and
Let's
television.
Spike. That's
I-
none of our business.
That is none of my
Um,
business, but it's kind of impossible to avoid. It's kind of impossible to avoid.
Huh?
if you all don't know, a comic company named Aftershock has filed
Oh,
for
we're talking about
bankruptcy,
this. Okay.
Mhm.
and they owe millions of dollars because they were trying to make films. You can just
Yeah,
Google it and get all the information that we
yeah.
have.
There are about 10 million things named Aftershock out there, from fucking rugby teams
Like if
to
you
someone's
if
dog.
you Google Aftershock bankruptcy, like
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, I'm not here to judge anybody involved with Aftershock, but the thing that kind of cannot be ignored is the knock-on effect of things like this. Because declaring bankruptcy is this sort of blanket term we all understand, but what that basically means is a whole lot of people are not going to get money they are owed now. And when you are
also a lot of creators are gonna have their media rights like owned by some random corporation, like
Eh.
whoever ends up buying their assets.
although that might not be the case, because it's worth noting that Aftershock filed for chapter 11, not chapter 13.
Well, the loan that they took, specifically they put the media rights for their properties as the collateral.
Oh no. Okay, that I
Oh,
didn't
it's
Yeah.
Tokyo
know.
Pop all over again.
Yeah. For what it's worth, the Iron Circus contracts, and everyone here who's got a contract with Iron Circus, feel free to look it up. If Iron Circus
Digging
becomes
through my
insolvent,
files.
if Iron Circus becomes insolvent, all rights immediately revert to creator. Da, da, da. So that's in there for that reason. But yeah, we are in a time period, and this isn't even fucking new, but a lot of people view comics as the waiting room for superior media, and some companies are founded with
Dumbasses,
that
you mean.
intention.
Bastard people.
I'm just going to say
Shitlords.
I'm just going to say that if you are making comics, you had better be making comics to make comics. That's kind of your best move. That is the smartest thing to do. Don't be making comics because you really wish you were making something else. That you're gonna have a hard time with that. And I can say this as a person who does have an inbox that is open at all times and gets
I
submissions.
say there's one caveat.
Oh,
People, single creators who would rather make an animated something and choose comics to be there. Well, I can't make an animated movie by myself, but I can make a comic by myself.
see, if I wanted to be difficult, I would say I can think of people who made animated movies by themselves.
Okay, yeah, but like can do without killing yourself is very different.
Don Hertzfeldt hasn't killed himself. He's doing great.
Like if I tried to make an animated movie right now, you'd never hear from me again.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you couldn't do it.
You know what I mean, Spike.
I know what you mean. I'm just being difficult. You're
I
difficult all
know.
the time.
I'm very frequently not difficult. Thank you very much.
No, but the thing is,
No,
I
but my
get
point
that.
is like I can see it being
Mhm.
like this is as close as I can get. Whereas like
Yeah,
there are other medias where it's like no, this is not as close as you can get and you will never be able to simulate what you're trying to make.
yeah. But the thing about comics is like when I was first reading what was going on with Aftershock, and they were talking about between 11 and 13 million dollars in loans, I was straight up just going, that's not fucking possible. That can't be the case. Like uh bankruptcy being declared because you owe someone 13 million dollars, I could not wrap my head around how a comics publisher that is not particularly large could even accrue $13 million dollars in debt. Like that, you would have been out of business a long time before that. And then I saw a loan to create a
I
TV
was
film.
laughing at Pencilier's comment.
Oh god.
He's doing fine. Montage of his works flashed through my head. No,
Yeah.
Spike. No, he is not.
Yeah, and I have to say it just in case folks don't know, Don Hertzfeldt is a fantastic animator. He definitely did a lot of his earlier stuff pretty much all by himself. You have probably seen his work without even realizing it. If you've ever seen a little puffy cloud going, "My anus is bleeding," or "My spoon is too big," or something like that, little stick
Oh
figures
yeah, yeah.
kind of having a hard time, it's probably Don. And I remember seeing Rejected, which is the film those two references come from at a film festival. I think I saw it at Spike and Mike's Sick and Twisted. That's how old it is. But yeah, Don is if he hasn't won an Oscar, I think he's been nominated at least once. He's really good. But yeah,
I did not know
probably
that guy's name.
Yeah, same.
yeah. But yeah, he has a lot of films now, and he has developed significantly from ass bleeding jokes. Not that the ass bleeding jokes aren't funny; they are very funny. But he's gotten some really interesting stuff going on right now. Like It's Such a Beautiful Day, I think is his most recent one. But yeah, uh, look if you want to make movies, I strongly suggest you make movies. You're not going to be able to make fucking Avatar of any stripe, animated
Blue
or
cat people, yeah,
Disney.
or you're not
Yeah, you're
neither Avatar.
you're not gonna do Avatar, but,
But at the
you
same
can
time, it's never been easier to make a movie.
yes, exactly, you can film student it if you want to. You can go into your house and talk to your family members and talk to your friends and just be all like, "Y'all wanna be in my movie?" If you have an urge to make a film, you can do that, and I strongly suggest you fucking do that, and you don't say, "Well, all the movies I see that make $1 billion, they started out as a comic," and then try and do the math backwards and say, "Well, the way to make $1 billion movie
There's
is."
this
Um,
new movie coming out directed by Steven Spielberg called like Storytellers or something like that.
uh-huh.
Um, and I'm just every time I see ads for it, I'm like, so is this an autobiographical
Oh
film
yeah,
by Steven
oh yeah, the
Spielberg,
the
or is it
the
thinly
the
veiled
Fablemans?
autobio? Yeah, that one.
It feels very thinly veiled autobio.
No, I'm like, I'm not sure if it's actual autobio or if it's thinly veiled autobio. I'm just sitting there
And you can
like
Google
how
it.
obvious.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's more effort than I care about.
yeah.
This movie.
It felt very not for me, so I will probably be missing that
No,
one.
I'm not gonna see it either way. I'm just wondering out loud, like,
Mhm.
so Steven, is
Apparently,
this
it's apparently it's mostly true story of apparently it's mostly true story. It's like fictional characters being used as vehicles to tell real stories.
Yeah,
okay?
and I know its name is something like
The
The
Fablemans.
Fablemans. The
Yeah.
Fablemans. Okay, that's transparent. Okay. And you know what? Good for him. We
Listen,
still
I was like, it's either autobio or it's thinly veiled autobio. Like, it's not.
yeah, yeah. It's one of those things where he's been fucking doing this since before everyone in this fucking room was born. He's entitled.
Yeah.
It's okay. He made Jaws. He made fucking Close Encounters
You
of the
made
Third
Jurassic
Kind.
Park.
He
This
made Jurassic Park. He made Schindler's List. He made Saving Private Ryan. He's allowed. He's fucking allowed.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Yeah, and as far as I know, none of his movies are about old dudes being gross on 20-year-olds.
I know, right?
Uh
Fucking, yeah, I
so
am. I
he's
am.
been doing it a long time and has avoided that topic of discussion.
Yes. Good
So
for him.
kudos to him. Yeah.
Good job, Steven. You managed the bare minimum to not be openly terrible. Good job. But
Uh,
yeah, I mean, I I have fallen kind of out of I think the circle of the guy. Again, this is like rough to say. I don't want to sound like extra pretentious, but I haven't had like a ton of interest in air quotes mainstream film in a very long time. And the most mainstream thing
Does
I've
that
been
make me
interested in,
snobby?
I think it
Yay!
does make like that's the
I'm
thing. I think
snooty. It's not just a coincidence. I'm snooty.
the thing is, I think it does make me snobby. It's I don't like being perceived as snobby, So it's one of those things where I'm super content when people are fucking losing their gourds over the latest film. I don't say anything. I'm just like, okay. I'm not gonna it's like
So
that comic, let people enjoy things. Like y'all are open to enjoy things, but I just hope no one asks me what I think of it. It's like I'm not
Yeah,
interested
they're
and they
not
just
coming to my house and take my Monster High dolls.
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, let
Uh,
people enjoy
I
things.
I still watch mainstream movies. Um, even though a lot of the times they are not my favorite. Just
Mm,
because like I like to be informed on what's going on in the zeitgeist or whatever.
yeah.
Um, but also I frequently think
Good for
there's
you.
usually at least one or two interesting ideas, even in like a mediocre movie. Like, it's rare that like a movie is absolute like there's nothing interesting going on in it. Like, even if it's 5 seconds
Oh yeah, yeah,
in a
yeah.
2 hour long movie.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
I'm not gonna be that person who refuses to see anything that hasn't had its own Criterion collection or
I,
something. I'm not
I,
gonna be that
I
person.
think
yeah, like
my
so. Oh, go ahead, Amanda.
I was just gonna say, like, I think my aversion to watching things like that is more like, I only stopped being hyper aware of the fact I'm gonna die someday, like 4 or 5 years ago. Like, I was going
Mhm.
through, like, I cannot go to bed without my nightly ritual of going, oh no, I will die someday.
Yeah.
Having a 5 minute panic attack and then going to bed. So I think my aversion to watching certain things is kind of a, this is an hour of my life I'll never get back, which is absolutely stupid because
Yeah.
I spend hours doing garbage and nothing.
Exactly. How many hours do we spend on
Exactly.
the
So it's
couch, you
silly.
know?
It's silly for that to be the justification why I refuse to watch Endgame. It's like, well, I might like it, but I might not like it. I don't fucking want to watch it. I want to watch uh, Lilo and Stitch again.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, it's not a good justification, but it's just where my mind goes. Like, I don't know, I could be having a good time and not risk having a bad time.
Yeah, and it's interesting you talk, Kel, about how you just want to be sort of like aware of what direction the current is flowing in. Because I kind of came to a conclusion a while ago when, we all have our fucking mid-20s kind of epiphanies. And one of mine was I'm going to stop seeing things and watching things out of a sense of duty because I feel like I need to keep up. And if I
Well,
see a ad for a movie and I think to myself, I'm not really interested in that. I don't care who's directing it. I don't care who's in it. I don't care what it's about. I'm not going to see it.
my thing is though, Spike, is I always watch them like a year after they came out because if
Mhm.
I don't remember that the movie exists a year after it came out, then it probably wasn't actually that important to
Yeah.
what is happening in pop culture or whatever. Um, uh, like, and that is actually why I ended up not watching any more MCU movies. Is
Yeah.
because people just talk about what they mean for the MCU, like moving forward. So as soon as the next thing comes out, like
Mhm.
that thing they were just talking about gets forgotten. Like,
Yeah.
so um
I think
it's
my
kind of they're not really making that much of a lasting impression. Whereas like everything everywhere all at once, people kept talking about it like
Yeah,
long after it came
that's
out.
definitely on my to watch list. Everything Everywhere All at Once is definitely on my to
I
watch
think
list.
I'm kind of
And
immune to the oh, I'm worried I'm missing out, or I want to know what people are talking about, just because of never having that feeling of knowing what people are talking about to begin with.
it's less of a like wanting to be included and more like
I didn't mean included.
yeah, well like it's more of a I want to know what's out there rather than what are people talking about at this very second?
Mhm.
Because like I said, like people talk about the newest Marvel movie but never talk about them once they're not the newest one anymore. Um
Yeah, I think
I
the
have so
experience I have.
many
Oh,
Oh, no,
oh,
go for it, Amanda.
I just think the experience I have over and over is sort of being told for years and years I need to see something, saying like, okay, finally seeing it, and then going, oh.
It's been built up so much for you, and
Well,
then
not
you
even
get to
built up. It's more like, why were you bark? It's less, oh, I'm disappointed, and more, if this is all this was, why have you been barking up my tree all this time? Like,
yeah,
why? Why did you think
right.
I had to experience it?
I get that completely, and I have a sort of generic red flag that I apply to all kinds of media, and it's not just film. It can also be TV and video games and music, and it has served me pretty well. And a big part of that is probably because 'cause I'm such a fucking raging out of control contrarian. And it's that if I see a movie come out and people are really excited and they like the movie, and I see those people who saw the movie and they loved it and they're excited about it, that's fine. But if I see those people and they like the movie and they love it and excited about it, and then proceed to treat people who don't like that movie, don't plan on seeing that movie, as if they are gross and insane, that will absolutely guarantee I will never see that movie.
Oh yeah, I think I fall into
It's
that too.
it's just I if you're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you haven't fucking seen it. It's so fucking what's wrong with you? Oh my god, we have to go this weekend. We have to. We have to." "Oh, you're telling me what to do now?" You know,
I
it's
just
like,
don't
"No."
talk to those people, Spike.
Yeah, it's an extreme turn off when I see that kind of fervor, I guess,
I think
attached to media.
I think especially when it comes to media, the older I get, the more I really just, how to explain it. So people have this idea that there are some specific media you need to experience that are important.
Yeah, yeah,
Either to you
important.
as a person, or for like you as a
Mhm.
creator. And the older I get, the less I think that's valid, just because of how many people I meet. Who, the more people you meet, the more people you meet who have drastically different childhoods than you,
Yeah,
cultures than you, experiences than you, and yet they came out the other side, like also making comics professionally and doing better or the same as, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
so it's like, no, you could have gone there are people who could have gone their entire lives never singing a single American movie,
yeah,
and they're fine.
yeah, absolutely.
Or
Uh,
any movie at all, or like, or their own country's cinema, the word I'm looking for,
Cinematography.
cinematography. Okay, yeah, or
their own
filmography.
country's cinema.
Filmography, I think,
Filmography,
is what I
yeah.
meant, like more like a library of stuff.
Mhm.
Um, like they could have grown up like with a completely different library of movies, and like it didn't make them worse. So
Yeah,
that's why I'm much more chill about like, oh, I didn't see that thing, I probably won't. It's more, it's like, it's okay. I'm gonna not experience a lot of things, and instead I'm gonna experience other things.
yeah. I have kind of independently sort of developed this methodology of finding new media because I do like finding new things to
Yeah,
just enjoy something I've never heard before. Like I recently have been listening kind of almost obnoxiously nonstop to the Bleachers, which I only found out about like a year and a half ago, and I've suddenly just been really, really into the fucking Bleachers, and like they've been around for 8 years. But since I'm
that's
so fucking
forever.
yeah, I know, right? But it's I've developed this sort of methodology that I think a lot of people do where they have maybe 1 or 2 or 3 people, well, like maybe a half dozen people or organizations where you either trust the judgment of that reviewer or person or organization because it seems to align with yours more often than not, or it's a production company that just makes shit you're super fucking into, it feels like. And that's kind of been the case for me. I am in this place where if your movie sucks, says something is good, I will probably watch it. And if A24 puts something out, I will probably watch it. And those are the things that I kind of don't really have to worry about investigating further.
I don't
If
think I've reached a point where
A24
I've found someone who reviews stuff who I always agree with.
Oh, no, I don't always agree with him at all. It's just that his reviews are really thorough without being
Ah,
spoiler laden, so I have a good chance of being able to, decide from there.
okay.
And A24, it's like just fucking it's like they have been somehow all bangers so far. So if A24 is like, we have a new movie, and it's about watching fucking paint dry, I'm probably gonna watch it.
I don't think all their stuff are bangers, but it is always at least interesting.
Yeah. The last A24 I watched, I still have not watched Everything Everywhere All at Once, but I did watch Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. And I have a weird perversion. I've shared this before. I have a weird perversion for the trope of the tiny freeloader who lives in your house. And like the fucking littles or the borrowers or some shit. Like I
They
love
are
that.
not
I don't know why.
freeloaders.
Tiny
They
little
work
freeloaders.
very hard for everything they have. How dare you?
The borrowers are literal freeloaders.
They
But
work very hard even still.
that's why I like Arrietty so much, the Ghibli movie Arrietty, and I
I mean,
really
yeah,
like
but that's
Marcel.
just an adaptation.
I like Marcel the shell with shoes on, and it's just a little shell that lives in a house with his grandma, and just Marcel just fucking having his little day, and I love that shit. I love it. I fucking love it. And A24 has a lot of other stuff that they have put out that I'm into, and I just if it says A24 on it, I'll probably give it a chance. That's just how things have shaken out. And I don't really worry about best of lists, and I don't really worry about
Yeah, no,
great of all
I don't look
time
at
lists
best of lists.
because and I hate to put it this way, but I have yet to run into one of those lists that remotely resonates with me when people are because just because of the nature of the world, a lot of best of lists will contain movies that I have seen, and it'll be like, "Oh my god, number 3, obviously Ghostbusters," and I'm like, "The Ghostbusters is not the third best movie of all time, my
That's
dude."
why I
You
like
know?
lists that are very obviously this is my list.
Yes, that's a completely different animal. Absolutely.
Because it's easier to be like, I completely understand why. As someone who knows you now, it makes complete sense that you feel this way. I don't
Yeah.
agree, but it makes sense to me. Like
Exactly.
if Spike
So,
made a
like
top 10 list, I'd probably like sneer at the entire list, but go, yeah, this completely makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, just like me, I would never say, Amanda, you know what you need to see? You need to see Tetsuo Iron Man. I would never say that to you.
There was a time. You've grown a lot. I love that about you.
Yeah.
Matured. I'm matured. I'm not trying to slip Amanda. Tetsuo Iron Man.
But yeah, like I said, I just like to know what's out there
Kel,
and see what people are doing.
Kel, do you remember when
So
Spike used to set traps for me?
yes,
Okay.
Spike is a monster.
No, she's gotten
Um,
better. She doesn't do
I've
that
gotten
anymore.
so much
But she used
better.
to set little traps.
But so so an example is in the Discord I have set up. We did the most recent werewolf movie night. And it was a movie called Wolf of Snow Hollow. That I heard has a dry sense of humor, so I might like it, and that's why I seeked it out. That and it's a werewolf movie. And having watched it, people asked me if it was a good movie, and I was like, not really, but I am glad I watched it because there were things it did that were interesting, even though the movie as a whole is not very good.
Yeah.
Like it did interesting stuff with sound design and editing. The main character of this movie is a divorced cop who is a recovering alcoholic. And at the beginning of the movie, um his wife is dropping off their daughter to stay with him, and he's like, well, I might not be able to give her my full attention because I have to solve all the horrible murders going on in town. Um, which is fair. He does have to solve the horrible murders going on in town. But clearly, he has dodged his parenting responsibilities in the past. So his wife just starts to like dig into him for being a shit dad and irresponsible. And as he is trying to explain, like, yes, I know I have fucked up in the past, but there are horrible murders going on. And in the background, like, tea is boiling over as he is getting more and more stressed out by the conversation. So like little sound design things like that that are neat. Um, but
Hmm.
overall, the movie was not very good.
Hmm.
I see.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by like even shitty movies usually have like one or two things interesting about them.
Yeah, that that
Yeah.
that comes back around to like why I've been enjoying letting the Retro Crush live channel play. Sometimes something catches my eye and I go, huh, I never would have seen this.
I never would
I
have clicked on
Mhm.
yeah.
this if I had the option. Yeah.
Um so it has made me realize again, certain things are not very good that I just would have assumed were good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I'm a big fan of Magic Knight Ray Earth manga. Like, it is a big enough influence on me that one of my Slipshine comics uses the same acronym
Uh-huh.
to be like, huh? Huh? It's kind of like that, but it's
Miracle
not.
Night remix. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
though I'm renaming that because it's too similar to Starry Night.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna be Paladin instead of Knight because I'm like, I don't want people to find porn. But the anime is not good.
Yep.
I really would not know. I have
I'm
not
just
seen
no.
it.
Again, I'm just saying that it was a revelation to me because it's one of those things where I only got to afford a single DVD. I never got any more. And I just would have assumed, well, the manga's good and this one DVD is good. I would have recommended this to people, having no idea. It is not good. It is awful.
Mhm. What's so bad about it?
It's just, it's like a limp fish. Like, everything that was emotional in the manga was like cranked up to 11, and all the comedy was like, everything's like cranked up too high, but spaced out too far. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Kinda,
Like
yeah.
they basically had to stretch the story out. So the story parts they kept, they cranked them up all in volume. Like, so the emotional parts were very emotional. The scene where a character got injured, no, that character dies. Like shit like
Oh,
that.
okay.
Like,
Okay.
and all the comedy, oh well, what was a cute little throwaway panel? That's a 5 minute segment now. You know, things like that. But
Okay.
everything in between bridging those out is nothing. It's nothing. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just nothing. So it's just like it's awful.
Uh-huh.
So
I don't even know what the plot to this is, so
it
I'm content to take your word for it, but
it really the plot really isn't important. This is more just about execution. Like you could think of like any story you like, and then someone says, "Okay, we're gonna make it longer, and we're gonna
for
take
no.
everything going on in it and crank it up to 11." But all the new things, you know how we have to. It's a movie now. We have to fill in all the new time, and we're not gonna
Yeah.
fill it in with anything.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be characters walking or something. Maybe having a very mild conversation. That's
Yeah. I feel like yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. I think that's kind of like the hallmark of some really poorly paced, poorly written fiction. There I'm going to share a term, some terminology. It's film terminology with the room here, and it has helped me a lot when I'm making comics. And it is the concept of business, which I think I have told you all about before. And the thing is, if you are working in a visual medium, whether it's comics or film or television, and people are having a conversation because information must be conveyed and the plot has to be pushed forward, obviously, you should do everything in your fucking power that the people having that conversation aren't just standing there talking to each other and that's all they're doing. They should have business. And that term basically means if they have to have a conversation about, oh, the Kremlin has the nukes and we have 24 hours to reply. What do you want us to do, Mr. President? And the president goes, I know what I'll do. I'll call in Superman. We have to find where those nukes are. If that conversation is happening, it should be happening when the president is briskly walking up walking up a hallway in the White House with someone shoving papers in his hands and a secretary taking notes and generals on the phone yelling, or it should be happening while the Pentagon is burning down around him and he's being ushered into the escape limo, or it should be happening while they're desperately trying to patch the oxygen leak on the moon base and he's being shoved into his emergency spacesuit. Things need to be happening while this conversation is happening. And the things that are happening can be as simple as a phone call or a walk or someone baking a cake or
I
as complicated
disagree.
as a car chase. And that is what business is. And some of the worst movies I've ever seen have no fucking business. It's just two people standing in a room talking at one another. And if you go and look at shit like The Room or any of the Breen filmography, you'll notice how absolutely chock full it is of just people fucking talking at each other and standing there like store mannequins, and that's all they're doing.
Um, trying to think of
I
movies I've
disagree, but
seen.
also like the thing is, I agree, but I also disagree because it's like I agree with what you're saying, but your example was so extreme that it's hard to agree with it.
Okay, yeah. I'm just saying that it's if you're bored in a movie, if you're just sort of like, and you just don't know why you don't like a scene, why you're not engaging with the scene, why it doesn't feel like anything's happening, I encourage you to be like, "Oh, wait, is there any business going on right now?"
I mean,
And
it could also just because
sometimes I
literally
bet the
nothing's
answer would be
happening,
like,
even if
it's just
like there are action scenes where technically nothing's happening.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, but
I mean,
for
like, I
that,
gave you that example of me watching Fury Road. Technically, they have all the business going on. I just don't find the business interesting.
yeah, yeah, that could definitely be a thing. The business can be boring, but it helps a
Well,
lot because this is a thing I think about
I think boring is the wrong word.
when I'm making sort of like a story formatted comic. The deal is every panel, every word balloon, every scene is an opportunity to move the story forward. And you can make a panel do double duty if there is both business and dialogue.
Can, yes, but you don't
And
always want double duty.
you no, you don't always want double duty, but it can help a lot, and
Well,
it
yeah,
helps like, there's a reason there's that thing that gets passed around intergenerationally, extra generationally online in hard copy between cartoonists, which is Wally Wood's 22 panels that always work,
never
because
seen it.
you have had to have seen Wally Wood's
No, I've
You are
heard
kidding.
it's been described to me, but I've never like been
Uh,
offered it to look at.
okay,
Oh,
I am
well, I got it. Hold on.
yeah. A note about Wally Wood's panels, that 22 panels that always work, they are not actually by Wally Wood. I just want to put that out real quick. It's just they are used by Wally Wood a lot. And Wally Wood is one of my favorite people in comics, I should say right now. But I didn't he wasn't my favorite until I went to Angoulême in 2020 and saw a retrospective of his life. He is definitely my favorite now. He had a very sad life, but I relate to him on a lot of levels. He
Ah, I
also
see.
started a publisher and wanted to try and change the system and publish books he wanted to publish, and it's Wally Wood's he's fucking bomb. He's cool. But Wally Wood's 22
Mhm.
panels that always work. Are they did you put them in the
Yeah,
okay.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. If we could put them up on the in the stream.
fine. Filling my downloads folder again.
Okay.
They're very simple, and that is
Yeah,
partly why they work.
Yeah, they're applicable to a lot of situations. And it's described as just a way to keep panels interesting when, and I quote, a bunch of lame characters are sitting around and talking for page after page. And I would say on a comics level, this qualifies as business because it's trying to keep your eye engaged when there's just a lot
uh,
of chatter.
and while this is good, I think of stuff like Pluto, which is okay with repeating um, the same shot over and over again. Um, I
Oh, yeah.
think like it depends on the type of comic you're doing.
Yeah, I don't think repeating the same shot over and over again is bad at all. Repeating the
Yeah,
same
but
shot
he
over
he has a lot of like middle shot close-ups, middle
Yeah.
shot close-ups.
I'm going to go
Um,
completely Scott McCloud on you here and talk about how a moment to moment transition, which is what's happening when you are repeating a very similar
oh,
shot.
no, this
Oh,
isn't this is referring to specifically you saying a lot of people standing around talking for a lot of time.
yeah.
There are a lot of scenes in Pluto that are basically that. So it isn't even moment to moment. It is because it is like line of dialogue, another line of dialogue, another line of dialogue.
Yeah.
So they're
I
repetitive
personally, yeah.
in their uh it's just people standing around talking. But he really likes to the that comic in particular really likes to like break up what people are doing in when they say every sentence. This is the
Mhm.
thing that you and I disagree with how much dialogue should be in a panel, and I am more on the side of Pluto where um don't have the question asked and answered in the same panel because like people's faces expressions change when they hear a question and when they answer a question. um
I think
and
you can do that. I think you can do that.
and you having edited one of your scripts, I know that you like to have all the dialogue sometimes.
Sometimes
And
I pace it out. I mean, I
yeah.
literally uploaded a comic today that's I think is actually a really good
Oh, my
example of me
see, my
pacing shit out.
go-to that I love and I know is sometimes infuriating, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I love it, is drawing panels for every minute change in a character's face.
I
Oh
love that.
boy.
That's my favorite
I
thing.
just I
uh
know it's not the best I know it's not the best option. I know it's not the most efficient option, but it's what makes me happy, so you all must endure it with me.
One of my favorite things ever is basically having a silent panel where and my personal pet peeve, I avoid them every chance I get. I just I don't like them. I have a moral objection to them. I have a religious objection to them. I have a visceral objection to them. I don't like thought balloons. What I do like, if you like thought balloons, that's fine, but I don't like thought balloons.
I
And
use thought captions.
yeah, what I don't like thoughts in general.
uh
What I really like is my version, I think, of a thought balloon, which I feel makes for a more interesting narrative, is a character who is silent for a panel and then says something that makes it clear in the previous panel they were having a rich interior life. Like,
uh
if there are 2 people just standing by a lake and they are skipping rocks and watching the sun go down, and one of them is looking at the other, and it's a silent panel. And then in the panel immediately following, the person says something to the effect of, "So, like, how many bodies are in here?" Like,
uh
I like that much better than
I
word
don't think
balloons.
that has anything to do with thought bubbles.
No, but the thing is
this
people
is
like word balloons and I don't.
I shared a thing that is my favorite thing to do with thought captions.
Mhm.
I put it in the chat. I love to do the thought caption of the person who isn't paying attention covers the dialogue balloon of the other characters because they are not paying attention.
Ah, okay.
Um,
So I
I try
see.
to avoid them, but I also have stories where it's like, no, I this is comic is actually going to take 3 times as long, so I must. This is a darling. I must.
it's also I am also of the opinion that if you are putting thought captions in, it has to be because the story will read completely differently without them.
Mhm.
So an example, the page that I shared with y'all is from Misfits of Avalon. Um, Misfits of Avalon, in particularly the chapters from Ray's point of view, read completely differently if you don't have her inner monologue because she is polite and nice on the surface, but fucking hates everyone in her inner monologue. And is the worst member of the group, um like the most morally reprehensible. But if to the fact where she is openly manipulating the youngest member of the crew, like leading her on because she realized the younger member has a crush on her to get what she wants.
My way of
Um, and if you did not have her inner monologue, someone might think that their relationship would be endgame for the story and would be drastically disappointed when Ray's true colors are revealed to the rest of the team. Whereas since they do have her captions, even when it is not her point of view and it's the point of view of the girl who has a crush on her, it makes the reader anxious rather than hopeful because they know that it is insincere because they have seen inside Ray's head.
Hmm.
something I'm doing with Starry Night, because Starry Night is one of those things where so much is happening internally, and that's really hard to do without something like that. And my get around is I've actually done a rewrite for it where the main character, I don't want to like spend 1,000 years talking about my comic. I'm trying to think of a way to shorten these.
Why not? Talk about your comics. Everyone's allowed to talk
Yeah.
about their comics. Let's hear about your
Oh
comics.
fuck me. The main character is a magical girl, and the way it works is it's like a legacy power. Like you inherit it, or you get granted. Basically, it gets passed from person to person, and the power basically imprints on the person, and eventually kind of like assumes the shape of their personality. So when it gets passed to the next person, they can actually get trained by sort of like the imprint of the last person who had it. Kind of like they act like an avatar for the power, which is called like the spiral, um, which gives more incentive to always have it given to competent good people who will therefore, even when that person's gone, the spiral will act like them and be helpful. But the problem is that is not how it happened before the main character got it, and someone pretty awful has imprinted on it. And so instead of training her like normally it's sort of like I can read your thoughts, I can help train you, we got this. And this she's more like I'm going to roast you constantly. um so basically she is literally having conversations about like her thoughts with this awful person who
Oh.
um like I'm trying to avoid now I'm into avoiding spoilers about who the person is, but yeah, it's sort of a who had it last did not want someone else to have it and kind of sabotage them just by being shitty.
Hmm.
And so now their imprint, even though it's not technically them, their influence is now like, oh, I don't like you. I'm gonna try to like actually trip you up. But the problem is that is exactly when the main character thrives, is when she's like having to like show someone up, be like, no, watch this, suck on this. And so that backfires on the imprinted person, the sort of avatar, because they are doing exactly what it takes to make her actually extremely good at the main character extremely good at her job
Hmm.
by roasting her, because she's got brain problem.
So in general, you have the same sort of opinion about spoilers that well, no, maybe you don't.
No, here's the thing.
Uh,
It's more I'm trying to be respectful of other people. I personally don't care about spoilers,
Uh-huh.
but I know other people do. Like, I don't think this spoiler would really matter, but I know it matters to other people, and I'm trying to be respectful. I
Okay.
personally, if y'all all told me right now, oh, we don't care, I would just be like, okay, fine,
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, personally
I,
speaking, I
I think
I try
spoilers are more enticing.
I try not to spoil stuff I intend to do because it demotivates me specifically. Like it's personal. It's exclusively self-interest why I don't like go in depth about where the various comics I'm working on are going because I think I think that demotivates me. Like I've told you the cool part, so now I don't have to draw it.
Yeah,
And that's just from experience in the past.
I think
So
for me, the way I feel about that is, even though I told you, I still haven't drawn it. You still haven't seen it. So like I still have the
yeah.
motivation to make it as cool as I made it sound, in my head. Cuz like
Mhm.
what you imagined could be really really rad, but if I don't draw it, it still doesn't exist. Or if I do draw it but I do it bad and you go, "Oh, this isn't what I did." Like it's still it still gives me the drive to still make it. I think the thing that does sap it is when you talk about it so much that it supplants the experience of reading it.
Yeah, that's
That's
probably
the
it.
difference. Like if I were to like post like right now like a rundown of the entire last act or something. Like
Uh-huh.
and just go by beat for beat. This is what happens, and this happens, and this happens. I feel like that's different.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think I've taken two kind of approaches myself because I have the two comics, so frankly now I can see which works best. Uh with ordinary, if people ask questions, I will answer the questions, and I consider that like that's okay. I get to say that's okay because they are asking a question prompted by something I made, so it's not like I'm just sitting there talking about shit and not making any comics, so it's okay. And with Blacada, I'm not really saying anything.
I
I'm just kind
also
of letting it be completely by itself.
also feel like spoilers like shouldn't affect whether the story's enjoyable or not. Like unless it's
Mm.
like I don't know. I guess unless it's like a mystery where that's the entire point. And
Mhm.
nothing else. But like I feel like sometimes if I have something that I consider this is a spoiler in the story, I try to think would someone learning this make reading the story pointless? And if so, I think
Like
I'm writing the story wrong.
I'm not gonna spoil it because I know Spike doesn't want a spoiler. But the big spoiler for Chainsaw Man, like,
Yes,
personally
please don't
made
spoil that.
me more interested in the show, and it increased my
Okay,
enjoyment knowing what
which
was
spoiler?
coming.
Text me which one that was. Not text. Message me personally
Yeah, please don't
Uh,
spoil that for me.
because it's
the
like I'm
big
trying to
one
remember
for
what was. I'm like, what was a
the end
spoiler?
the end of the final arc, the end of the first arc, um, the big reveal. Uh
No, seriously, send it to me because I'm not.
I'm looking for our solo chat together.
Yeah, don't
Hold
put
on.
it in the group chat,
No, here
please.
I'll
Yeah,
mess here.
no, I understand. There's a reason why I just said the spoiler.
Because
Um,
Yeah.
I'm like I'm trying to think and I'm like I can't think of anything that I personally considered a spoiler. That's why I'm curious.
Mhm.
there.
Okay.
Those are technically reveal. Like the first thing I mentioned is technically a reveal.
Yeah.
Um, so uh, like, and knowing it increased my enjoyment reading it for the first time.
I guess I just didn't consider those spoilers. No, I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I just can't
Uh,
imagine you learning those things and going, oh, the intrigue is gone.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah, yeah. Anyway,
Oh,
but Spike wants to be
no,
surprised,
I
so I'm
know.
not
That's
saying
why
it.
I'm
Yeah.
being a good girl.
Yeah. So I am a big proponent of learning a spoiler increases my interest in seeing a thing.
Yeah.
Um, like I didn't want to see Sorry. I was like mildly interested in seeing Sorry to Bother You until I got the big spoiler, and then I was like, well, now I need to see it right this second.
mm.
Um, I know I have told Amanda the big spoiler
Yes,
for Sorry to Bother You.
you
I'm
have.
also talking around it in case Spike ever wants to watch it.
Yes, and I
Um,
appreciate that. I like the experience. Like, okay, great example. I think we have all seen that stop motion Japanese animation called Lamb, right? We've seen that.
no,
No? Holy shit. Okay, I'm gonna give you a link and then you can watch it, okay?
I'll
No, you
watch it
might
later.
you
Spoil.
though to be fair, depending on what you can and can't watch, you still might not end up watching it. It's not a given.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm just gonna give it to you. You do not have to watch it now. Oh, no, it's not called Lamb. I'm sorry. It is called My Little Goat. Does that
Yes.
no.
I was actually Googling, I'm like, that's not what get my little
Anyway, um, spoil away because if you spoil it, I'll be more interested in watching it.
Okay, My Little Goat
and
is
I've seen it too.
a Japanese stop motion cartoon, and it's based off of a fable. about a mother goat whose babies are eaten by the big bad wolf, and the wolf is so full it goes to sleep right where it lay. And the mother goat actually goes and cuts the wolf open, rescues her children, and fills the wolf with rocks and sews him back up. So when he wakes up,
Oh,
he has
so
a
it's the end
bellyache.
of Little Riding Hood.
Yeah, well, hold on. He goes to the river and he tries to drink water, and the rocks are so heavy he falls in and drowns. Like, that is what it is based on. What it actually is in the stop motion animation is the mother goat, it's a goat in this story for some reason, rescues her children from the
These
belly of
goats
the
are
wolf.
cuter.
Yeah, except for one of them, because it took her a while and it was too late for one of them. And she decides to deal with this by kidnapping a human child, knitting it a hood that makes it look like it has goat ears and a fleece, and taking it home to live with her other children. And it's a wild fucking stop motion cartoon. I really, really like it. And she leaves this kidnapped human child with her like 4 or 5 other goat babies, who, by the way, are worse for wear for having been in the wolf's stomach for a long period of time. So a couple of them look kind of okay and just have missing patches of wool, but a couple are straight up half digested. And because of this, the mother has turned all of the mirrors in the house like against the wall so the babies can't see themselves. And she tells her surviving children, "Here's your brother's here. He got lost in the woods. He came back. I found him." And her children are very skeptical because they're all like, "You don't look
We
like
got
our
eaten,
brother."
Mom.
Yeah, he got eaten first, and I'm super sure I saw him get eaten first, and you don't look like him, and you don't smell like him, and you don't sound like him. This is very weird. Anyway, what ends up happening is while the mother goat is out, there's a knock on the cabin door right after she explicitly told them, "Don't open it because the wolf is gonna come again." And so all the little goat babies are like, "Oh my god, the wolf is at the door, the wolf is at the door," and they run and hide. But it's not the wolf who's at the door. It's the little boy's father, the kidnapped child's father. And he comes in the door and he's all like, I think the boy's name is Tokaru. And it's like, Tokaru, is Totoku, is that you? Oh my God, don't run away like that. You scared me so bad, Totoku. I thought I might have lost you. And he grabs his son and he starts hugging him. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess this is the happy ending. Like, he doesn't have to live with goats for the rest of his life. But then the dad starts breathing super heavy and pushes his kid over on the ground and
You don't
starts
have to
taking
get super descriptive,
yeah, and takes his kid's
please.
clothes off. And, yeah, it turns out he is also a wolf. And it goes from there, and that's the big reveal, and that's the moment where you're watching it, you're like, "Oh, no!" And it's really fucking good, and it's just really good. It's called My Little Goat, if anyone wants to see
I
it.
will say,
Mhm,
even having seen it, Mike's
mhm.
description does not do it justice, and even knowing all that, I don't think lessens the impact.
Yeah, I'm not doing it justice at all. It is unusually beautiful. It is really well done and just it's technically accomplished. It has a really interesting and unique story, and it's just something you don't see every day.
Um, Everyone should watch Sorry to Bother You. It's
Yeah.
fucking great.
My
No,
Little Goat,
thank you.
free, it's on YouTube. Go watch it, everyone.
And then go watch Sorry to Bother You.
No, thank you.
Yeah. Comics on this show? Yeah. We all is that Nero's right. We get to talk comics on this show. And I'd like to thank everyone who is on here, by the way, for the really fantastic response. Especially Nero. Nero, I see you fucking faving my shit on co-host. My ordinary stuff. And it makes me feel good about myself that people like my comics because when you are in an administrative position for a long period of time, sometimes you're all like, I suck, I guess. And it's nice to know I don't
I'm
suck.
in one of those like periods where I don't have anything to share, so it's like kind of making me twitchy and weird.
You could try doing a morning warm up, excuse me.
What?
Like, just do
What
a sketch every
good
day. A
No,
warm
no,
little,
no,
up
no, no.
drawing.
I don't have anything to share. Doesn't mean I'm not making things.
yeah, I know, but you could make something specifically to share.
but then I wouldn't have time to work on the things that I have to get done.
Fair
Like
enough.
I'm saying these are periods that come and go where like I have so much to work on, I just don't have anything to share, and it results in me getting twitchy and weird. But
Yeah.
those periods pass, and then I have lots to share.
Yeah. I
It's
actually
just an ebb and a flow. It's just how it happens.
Yeah, the thing that discouraged me from working on stuff for a long time is I kind of held on to this idea I needed to regularly update. And no, 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 you fucking don't. You don't have to do that. Like doing comics for co-host and doing comics for Pillow Fort is not my primary means of income. So if 10 pages elapsed between uploads, it doesn't fucking hurt me and that page still gets to exist. And this is a way healthier way of going around it about it than going, oh, if I can't do it every week on the exact update day, I shouldn't do it at all. Like, it'll still exist. I'd rather be slow than fucking headology myself out of doing anything at all. It's like I wish I was faster. I wish I was faster. That's kind of like a perennial thing when it comes to making comics. I wish I was way faster than I am, but I'm not very fast and I'm kind of never going to be very fast. And I have to be okay with that or, simplify the work I do to a degree where I can be faster. But it's clear after 40 years, I'm unwilling to do that. So I'm just kind of like, I have found a happy medium where, okay, maybe I only put out 50 pages of something a year. That's 50 more than I had last year.
It doesn't help that move. I'm the kind of idiot who's like, I know I just moved, but I can like roll right back in. Like
Yeah.
nothing has changed and everything. Like I'm frustrated with both how
I'm
long it's take.
impervious.
Huh?
Yeah. I'm impervious.
No,
Nothing affects me.
it's more that I'm just frustrated first with that I'm not up to the speed I was before I packed up and moved, but also I'm frustrated for expecting myself to be. You know what I mean? It's like double whammy of, well, of course you're not going to be up to speed yet. Like, but I really thought I was going to have like a week of Starry Night, a week of Love Me Nice, a week of Slipshine already under my belt. It just
Mm,
didn't happen. And
yeah.
now I feel
Just
both stupid for it not happening, but also stupid for expecting it to happen. Like, you know better.
Yeah, honestly, don't psych yourself out too much because you're like, "Oh, I'm late, I'm late, I'm late." Don't white rabbit yourself too hard because like everything takes longer than everyone suspects it does always.
Yeah.
Not me. I know exactly how long my shit takes.
Well, it's not about how long my stuff takes. I know how long to make stuff. I'm just haven't been. I've had so many little things to do that I haven't been able to get into my old routines.
Hmm.
Like every day, there's something new that I had to take care of that derails me or something.
I get that.
And I'm only like in the last, I think, week, finally at a point where, like, for example, like just general anxiety of being in this apartment was like it made me feel bad because I'm like, I'm so happy. I'm so happy to have my place. I'm so happy to be
Have
on
your
my
rep.
own and have my own space. But at the same time, I haven't lived in a city except for once before. There was a time I was having like anxiety attacks all the time and feeling bad for like I was like I thought you wanted this. Well, and now look at
Mhm.
you, freaking out all the time every time your apartment makes a weird noise. So it's like it like I don't know. I don't think I give myself enough like breathing room sometimes, and it's just like, oh, you'll be fine. And I just assumed I would just be like, everything's great, and I will not feel bad ever.
Recipe for failure there.
Exactly, which is why I'm mad at myself for thinking that way in retrospect. Like, you dummy.
I had emotions. That means I
Right.
failed.
Like,
Yeah,
for
that's
example, like I can't like it took me like I knew factually I know it's an old building.
yeah.
When the pipes kick in, they make weird sounds.
Yeah.
But the reality of getting used to those sounds was a lot. And
Yeah.
it makes me feel angry at myself because it's like, you knew before you got here the pipes were going to make beep. And yet the pipes still kept you from sleeping because it sounded like someone was
Oh.
knocking on your window. You
Oh.
know what I mean? It's dumb shit like that.
Yeah.
And I'm only in the
Yeah.
last week have I got to be the point where like, I recognize that sound. I know where to go for these groceries. I have a route I take for this. I
Yeah, it's
recognize that neighbor. That I know that voice. I hear that voice all the, you know what I mean?
yeah,
It's
it's entirely possible at some point in the future you'll consider that like part of your routine. Like, oh,
yeah.
there go the pipes. Time to go to bed.
Uh, I need to share a delightful tweet with y'all.
Uh-oh.
Every time I see someone call themselves an alpha male, I 100% agree because everyone in tech knows that alpha is the weakest, most bug ridden version of anything.
Oh yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, I've seen that one. And I happen to agree.
It's a good
I'm
one.
yeah, I am of the
I'm the
opinion
day
like
one real patch baby.
there's a lot more educated and academically astute people than myself have had said a lot more intelligent things about this, but I've read stuff that I tend to agree with these days about sort of the changing nature of manhood and how there are certain people who they're not coping. They're not coping
They've
well.
never been coping.
They've never I mean, there have always been people who never ever coped, but right now we're kind of at this moment in time period where gender roles in sort of modern society, just a couple generations back, tended to be a lot more rigid and defined. And I'm not saying that was better. I'm saying that was simply how it was. And as a result, if you were a dude who did not have internal motivation of any sort, you still kind of knew what was expected of you and what you air quotes had to do. Like that was laid out before you. There wasn't a lot of ambiguity there. I'm not saying again that was good. I happen to be of the opinion that sucked. But that is how it was. Nowadays, things are in this place where the male, again, air quotes, role of, breadwinner, husband, guy who mows the lawn and buys the house and barbecues the steaks and what fucking not, that is no longer there. And there is
I mean,
this
even
sort
when
of
it was there, it was actually really brief.
it was oh yeah, I mean, the thing that actually developed from is was it was very upper middle class and it was very brief. It's marketed as the way things have always been, but no, that was simply the way things were at that time. But that is because of the marketing, because of looking through history through a very skewed lens. That is what a lot of dudes specifically felt promised, and no one explicitly promised it to them, but it was implicitly promised to them, through the media they chose
Yeah.
to consume and the lives they have chosen to expect. And now that life is not waiting for them, they are not being issued a supermodel wife who wants to cook barefoot for you for the next 60 years no matter what, and they are feeling betrayed. And I think there's a disconnect there where the people they're feeling betrayed by are like, I never fucking promised you anything. And they would agree, no, you never promised me anything. But internally, the expectation was there. And they couldn't actually pinpoint where that expectation came from because that's how fucking society works. It's like a little million implications that happened between the ages of 0 and now. It's not one source. They were never sat down in a chair and told, okay, here's what you're going to get. It's just every movie, every book, every TV show,
Yeah.
every group they've seen praised, every this, every that. That's what they have been taught to value, what they heard when they went to church, what they heard when they went to school, what they heard in the locker room. Just a million little drops of water filled the sea, and now they don't get that. And that's why they're so fucking upset. And that's why sort of masculinity is in this kind of rigmarole right now, where how we used to air quotes, and again, we air quotes, define a man no longer applies. And I kind of feel bad for dudes like that, dudes who would function better in a more rigid society, but also fuck them, like adjust, bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I just
know
don't have
that.
commentary because this is a subject we've talked about like a lot.
Yeah, I know, I
I'm
know.
out of things to say about it.
Yeah, it's but the thing is, it's just one of those things I think
Oh,
about a lot. Like, there's a song by God, what is it? Garfunkel and Oates. That's their names. There's a song I really fucking like, and it has a line in it about um, close your eyes and picture your perfect woman. Now open your eyes and get over it because I'm her. I'm here and I'm not her. And one of the lines they talk about is, I know you're getting a worse deal than every other man before you has ever had. And it's like, yeah, pretty much. And
look,
that's kind of what
look,
dudes,
I refuse to be alpha. I will be the
yeah,
update. You can't play your game until you download on day one.
yeah.
That's me.
Yeah, I sometimes think how I'd function in one of those societies, though. Like the
No,
society, the fucking
I would
housewife
love to think
society.
about anything else.
Oh, I would not do well. Like I just by nature kind of prefer the kind of guy where I'm like, I got it, don't worry about it, and they're like, okay, and they just sort of like let me handle shit. I wouldn't. I'd have a really hard time dating somebody who has been informed by society over and over and over again that they need to be telling me what to do because
I
it's
prefer the
like,
kind of guy
yeah.
who isn't a guy.
Do tell. But yeah, it's just oh, it's weird. I don't know what
Literally.
I don't know how I'd handle it. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just super
I don't know. I'm
concerned.
kind of a weenie. I'm gonna be real. I'd be easy to put in my place and stay there.
Oh, you would be
I'm a weenie.
Stepforded. You'd be
Yes, I'm
step
a super weenie.
and you would just be sad for fucking 60
Yes, I
years
would be
and then
sad forever. If
and
the
then
if the
die.
roll of the dice was different, I would be sad.
Yeah.
I know me.
And I think one of the reasons I think about shit like this a lot is, I'm black and I'm a woman and I have no children by choice and I'm married to a white dude
God, all
and
those
I
unwilling children you keep in your basement.
and I and I own a business and I am sort of this amalgam of things that literally could not exist within living memory. Like it would have been fucking illegal. And it's just sort of like wild to me to sort of contemplate how much harder life would have been for me if I were 50 years younger, 50 years older, excuse me. And it's just like I'd probably be dead. Someone would have fucking killed me by now. How you doing, Cal?
I zoned out.
Yeah, that's okay.
It was
I
kind
was
of a bummer conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm having my God, what is that fucking Octavia Butler book? They're making it into a movie. Kindred. I was having my
Kindred.
Kindred moment. I was
It's a
having my
TV show, not a movie.
Sorry, I was having my Kindred moment. And I'm not at all surprised Octavia Butler thought about shit like that because I think about shit like that too.
Oh no, I think it was the man talk that did it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no,
That was the conversation
yeah.
I was waiting to end. Like, no, we have had this conversation a million times.
I like having conversations.
No,
But
no,
anyway,
no, no. I'm saying the one you
yeah,
transitioned to, I liked better.
yeah.
I just was
But
like, that. I'm explaining why Kale probably zoned out.
but it's okay. I zoned out too. Also, it's okay that we are 2 hours in, so we should start wrapping it up.
No,
We can
Yes.
keep
no,
talking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can. I'm gonna be real with you guys. My dog is super sick, and I want to go lie
no.
down with her.
Screw your dog.
She is so sick, you
Look your
guys.
dog
Yeah,
in her
anyone,
eyes. Clutch her little face in between your hands and say,
I'm gonna give you all a dog update.
"I don't
Here's the
want a
thing.
dog update, please."
This is the kind of thing I don't share on Twitter because, like, I'm gonna be real. I don't want anyone's fucking advice about this. My dog has a vet. We're good.
Yeah, we talked
But
about this a lot.
yeah, but we didn't talk about the dog update for this week.
Oh
Uh,
no.
Lucy has been on super antibiotics for a very difficult to treat UTI. The good news is they worked. The bad news is they fucked her up super bad. My dog has not walked for 3 days.
Oh
Okay?
my god.
Yeah. She has to be syringe fed both water and
Oh
special convalescent food.
no.
If she needs to go to the bathroom, she just goes. So she has been lying on towels for several days
So the pee
now.
situation has not resolved in either direction.
The
It's
good
just
news is
different slightly.
They cultured her urine, there's no bacteria in there, she is good to go on that front. So that UTI that she had for a very long time and resisted multiple other antibiotics, good news, it's fucking gone. Bad news is she is now so weak she literally can't hold her piss in. So she's just going anyway. Um, she developed very raspy breathing today, and we can't figure out why. So my husband and I hauled her into the bathroom, and we turned the shower on full blast for like half an hour at the
Oh, for
hottest
the
setting.
steam.
Yes, we turned it into a sauna to try and help her. And I also moistened some Q-tips and I cleaned
Uh,
out her nostrils a
for
little bit.
future reference, a good thing to have on hand for things like that. They make these
Snot suckers.
no.
Oh.
Those I'm sure I don't have experience with those, but these are good for rats.
Uh-huh.
They are like I think Vaseline makes their own, Vapor Rub makes their own, but it's basically just a facial steamer. They're really cheap.
Ah.
They just steam stuff so you can breathe better, but because it's just for steaming water and they have little compartments where you put like their Vapor Rub or whatever in them.
Mhm.
It's really easy. Like I think they're like $20.
Yeah.
They're
We
real
just
easy for like instant steam that's okay to have on your.
Yeah, we stuck Lucy in the bathroom and steamed her for half an hour, and that helped a little bit. And we cleaned out her nostril crust with wet Q-tips, and that helped a little bit. And she's drinking and she's eating, but only when we make her. And she's more active than she was 3 days ago. She was like really worrying Matt 3 days ago. Matt
Probably
was
just doesn't feel good.
yeah, she clearly feels like shit. Like her back legs still aren't doing much. She's scrambling around on her front legs. And the thing that makes me sad is when dogs won't eat, you try and tempt them with their favorite stuff and stuff that they're usually denied. And I went and I got a piece of ham, which is like the Lucy food. And I put the ham on the bed next to her and just backed off. And she sniffed it and she licked it and she nosed it and she sniffed it and she licked it and she nosed it and then she didn't eat it. And so I feel really bad. But
She got what she wanted.
yeah, she is doing better. She's improving very slowly. I should note here, by the way, everyone, my dog, we don't know her exact age, but she could be 13 at this point. So this is not a young dog. And that's why we think the antibiotics fucking just destroyed her this bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, it sucks. And I want to go lie down with my dog, everybody.
I was joking about you staying longer and forsaking your dog. You
And
did
now I
not
made
have
you
to
look
convince
awful.
me.
Now I made you look awful. I made
You
you look
didn't make me look shit
awful.
because my
You're
intentions are
terrible.
obvious to anyone
No,
watching.
no. I think everyone watching knows what a terrible person you are now.
I will throw a rat at you.
Satan. Anyway,
Lob a
any,
rat right at your face.
anyway, my name is Spike. Thank you for coming to the Geek Show. I hope you like my new improved blood gouting PNG flappy mouth thing.
Spike, we need to
Yes.
tell everyone
I was about to.
on
If you'll give me a
Christmas.
second.
Yeah.
Everyone, I don't like Christmas, and Kel don't like Christmas, and we're doing something
I
about
don't
it.
like Christmas.
Starting at noon, was it Central? Or
Noon Central, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
yeah, noon Central, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We are going to just fucking play RimWorld until we don't anymore. And
no, we're also raising money for the Gnarl Pro-Choice American Foundation.
yes, we are figuring that out.
It's already up on. You'll have to back through my Twitch.
Yes.
I actually already have the bar up because I was testing to see if it worked. So right now the bar says I put the goal as 1,000 because like they asked you to put a goal in. So now it says that we've raised $5 out of 1,000 because I donated. I donated through it myself to make sure it was working.
Yeah.
So we're gonna
Just had an
have that
epiphany.
up. Spike and I are going to play RimWorld. We're going to start new RimWorld games. Spike, do you know what your RimWorld game is going to be?
I do. Now, just FYI everyone, the nonprofit that will be donating all proceeds from this stream to the stream 2 is called Gnarl, Naral, Gnarl Pro Choice America. It is to facilitate and ease access to reproductive choice. And that is more important than ever in a post Roe v. Wade
And,
America.
and the donations go directly to them, so we're not
Yeah,
even,
yeah.
like, seeing the money, we're just seeing the bar go up.
We're not middle
Um,
people. We are just encouraging you to donate, and we really like it if you would. My RimWorld playthrough is going to be a playthrough I've been thinking about for a long time and have yet to do. It is going to be a playthrough where I am just going to fucking try and make fire-breathing pig vampires.
okay. I, Pawn Morpher works again.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear
Um,
that.
so, I am gonna make a town that I will name Cherrington Academy. And I have already made the little people that I'm going to start as. Spike, can you guess their names?
No, what are they?
Legoshi and Haru.
Okay.
So I have already made them in character editor and saved, so they're ready to go as soon as the game starts.
Yes.
But yes, so I'll play as a wolf man and a rabbit lady.
And I'm just going to
Well,
make pig demons that are cannibals, and my goal will simply be to take over the world.
and they will have I'm gonna see if their babies will be wolves or rabbit people, or if Pond
Both.
Morpher hasn't added that.
4K no
Because
stoves.
well, this is the thing is I don't know if Pond Morpher's coding how it interacts with uh biotech or whatever the newest DLC is. I don't know if it's
Uh-huh.
integrated yet, so they might be having human babies that we then have to turn into rabbit or wolf people.
Mhm.
Um, until then, but we'll find out if they're gonna have normal babies, rabbit babies, or wolf babies.
Okay.
It's important things to figure out.
Yeah, so please, if you are as unimpressed with Christmas Day as Kel and I are, join us for a day of RimWorld and a day of charitable giving. Um,
Yes.
until then, though, and after then, and
I
during
would like to
then,
make it very clear. We'll probably make it clear for the show itself. Um, when they say all proceeds, they really just mean they're directing donations. Like the
yeah,
channels, like for example, the Spike stream will not be monetized in any way.
no, no.
Yeah. It's just my stream has the
Just for the
donation
sake of
bar.
clarity.
Yeah, the link will be giving you sending you. Ugh, can't even talk. Straight to Gnarl. So it won't even there will be no in between period.
Yeah, it's like a button that will be on my Twitch.
Yeah, and we will keep track of what people donate through that link. And that
Mhm,
is how we will be documenting it. We would love to get them $1,000. So that's what we hope
mhm.
happens. Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody, thank you for coming. I'm Spike. You can find me on Twitter for now at iron_spike. I'm also Iron Spike, all one word, on co-host, where I post my comic about monsters, Ordinary. I am Iron Spike, all one word, on Hive. I don't know if that's even still a thing, but I'm there. I am Iron Spike, all one word, on Pillow Fort, where you can find my long format sci-fi comic about communist elves. I run Iron Circus Comics. That's at ironcircus.com. You can go there and you could buy all kinds of weird, wonderful, strange, and amazing comics that I'd super appreciate it if you did. Iron Circus is also on Instagram. Iron Circus as a username. And Iron Circus Comics is also on Facebook. We would super appreciate a follow on those platforms or a subscription to our mailing list. Do not put it off. Who knows when the Iron Circus Twitter, that's Iron Circus Comics, spelled Comix at the end because spelled properly will not fit, will be taken down because of the fucking bizarre machinations of Apartheid Clyde. Don't lose track of us. Join our mailing list.
I'm Kel McDonald. You can find all of my stuff at kelmcdonald.com. I am on a bunch of social medias that I'm paying an assistant to update right now. They're all linked on my website. I also have a little Discord that I watch werewolf movies on every full moon. So if you would like to join for that, you have to message me on one of the many social medias I'm on. Um, And I stream at twitch.tv/kelmcdonald every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights. So join me there as I draw my gay werewolves in the future. Also, I post stuff to my Patreon at patreon.com/kelmcdonald. Back my shit. That's it.
I'm
And
Amanda Lafrene. My website is in the description of the YouTube video, and it links to most of my stuff. And it's going to be getting an update when like a big update, like a week.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. Please don't
have a
forget
good
to
one.
fave the stream, fave the stream, fave the stream.